Raging radicals risk the future. That's the focus of tonight's angle. All right, the socialist, progressive, agitator wing of the Democrat Party, they thought they had it made. A new multicultural hipster took New York by storm. Virginia voters chose a fake moderate. And New Jersey, well, that just continued to be New Jersey. But Democrats had all the momentum. They had the edge. And they thought they had the leverage. But that all went up in smoke with the shutdown deal.
We actually lose leverage in our fight for Americans now that we have capitulated to Donald Trump without any real protections for people's health care or our democracy in the short-term funding bill. The pressure was going to mount on Donald Trump and Republicans over the next few days and weeks to do something.
But it turns out there are a lot of Democrat voters who were sick of waiting for 6 hours at the airport only to have their flights canceled. And a lot of government workers are Democrats, and they weren't getting paid, all for their little stunt. So rather than re-examining the wisdom of their shutdown hostage drama, Trump-hating maniacs near and far threw tantrums and took it all out on the adults in the room.
This was a decision made by 8 people. They clearly had a momentum. They clearly had their own goals.
I can't believe it! Democrats, you sold out the entire shutdown not to get what you wanted, but for a promise to not get what you wanted later.
Then when that all didn't work, of course, they tried to find their fall guy. Of course, the squad is stamping their feet, demanding that Schumer step down. They think that he stalled their election night momentum.
Now they just caved and surrendered. I think Chuck Schumer, his days are over.
I think he is in bigger trouble now. I think Senator Schumer's been there since 1982. My guess is that he won't be leader of the party in 2027.
The leadership of the Democratic Party in many respects is way out of touch with where Democrats in general are.
Okay. It's never about policy. Do you notice it's always about messaging or strategy? Because did they actually think that Democrats were going to get more popular the more they continued to vote against reopening the government? And the closer we got to Thanksgiving? How does that make any sense? Now, President Trump last night offered his own diagnosis of Chuck's problems. And it wasn't that Schumer didn't fight hard enough. It's that he let the inmates run the asylum.
He just went too far. He thought he could break the Republicans, and the Republicans broke him. But he did think that we have good policy, they have bad policy.
Well, he's right. This entire saga exposed the fallacy that Obamacare is and was from the start. It was never going to be affordable without massive government subsidies on top of subsidies. And it wouldn't even be health care as we previously knew it. Instead, with Obamacare, Americans are getting unaffordable ration care, while insurance companies get very, very rich.
The premiums have gone up like rocket ships, and I'm not just talking about recently. I'm talking about for years they've been going up. And he said premiums will go down, everything will be wonderful. It's horrible health insurance at a very high price.
This is exactly what we predicted at all those Tea Party rallies I spoke at, 2009, 2010. We said this, when the subsidies ran out, they would all be out of luck. But left-wing grandstanding about health care costs proves that they lied all along. They created a monster, not us. It was always unsustainable, and they knew it. Because universal, government-run care is now and always was their goal. And also now, the Mamdani fanboys and fangirls are mad, and others are just left scratching their heads when asked a simple question.
Who is running the show now in the Democratic Party, in the Senate, in the House?
No one really knows, and I think my values are reflected in my vote and the things that I support here, and if that might put me at odds with parts of my party, I'm okay with that.
Okay, I like him more and more. Principled and practical. I'll take the hoodie. But of course, they're trying to pretend that it's just a family squabble and not a total come apart.
Seems like this is ripping the party apart.
Ripping the party apart? I think you're over-dramatizing this. I mean, I know the news business is to try to make everything like the biggest crisis since
let me
the Cuban Missile Crisis or something.
Don't say it's me.
There's differences of opinion.
Okay, Tim Kaine, this is not the party he joined. Okay, that party's gone. So he's still not really getting it. The hard left, the TDS rageaholics, they do not believe that you have a right to disagree with them in the party, outside of the party, on almost anything. Well, a few exceptions maybe. So Shaheen, Kaine, Fetterman, they voted to open the government because in their mind, it was the right thing to do. Why? Because their constituents depend on their government paychecks, they depend on SNAP, and some actually, heaven forbid, need to travel. But that was all supposed to be sacrificed for what exactly? For AOC and for Bernie, who hate their guts anyway? Now remember, to Tlaib and Jayapal and Ilhan Omar, if they had their way, Hakeem Jeffries would be out. He's too moderate for them. And today, he desperately tried to put the sand back in the hourglass before his time runs out.
Leader Schumer did not bless this agreement. He voted against it. And of course, Senate Democrats who voted no have made that clear. And what we've seen from Senate Democrats over the last 7 weeks has been part of a valiant fight that we have waged together.
The truth is, Hill Republicans did something kind of unusual for them. They played this smart. They stayed on message and stuck to what is true. We will not be extorted into relitigating the big, beautiful bill only to go further into debt and reward non-citizens with more benefits. Premiums are going up because Obamacare was a lie. And if they really cared about people, if they really cared about keeping people healthy, they'd be sitting down with and working with Trump and Republicans who want to find a better way forward. Trump's already said he's willing. If they have just actually engaged with him like a human being, he's open to a lot of ideas. But in this moment, where resistance is king, their favorite sport really, will any Democrat join Trump? Just for a discussion? Well, we won't hold our breath, but Republicans also should not rest on their shutdown laurels. They need to be bold, be persuasive, innovative, and courageous. And that's the angle.
Viewer warning, you're about to hear some foul language.
Let's start tonight's show with the big news out of Washington on the shutdown. By the way, tonight's show will be brought to you by I can't believe it. I can't believe it. They caved on the shutdown.
8 Senate Democrats voted with Republicans to reopen the government, and the base is out for blood. Liberals are driving across state lines, hunting down the traitors.
My way into games. Hi. I spent about a couple hours trying to call this morning, and y'all didn't pick up. So then I drove an hour and a half to be here. Just put us through 5 weeks of suffering to just say, okay, that's fine. It was the most cowardly and weak move ever. He's a traitor, and people will die because of him.
Hakeem's trying to calm everybody down, but even CNN is putting him in a sombrero.
Was it the shutdown worth it?
We have waged a battle on behalf of the American people.
But at the end of the day, you didn't get what you want, so was it worth waging this fight?
At the end of the day, the fight lives on.
He shut down the government, and all he had to show for it was a stupid sombrero. Not for old Chucky Boy, though. They're throwing him in a wheelchair and rolling him right out the door.
Democrats drew a line in the sand. They said, we are not going over this. And today, after 41 days, they pulled out a shovel and a bucket, and they ate all that sand and got nothing for it. Isn't that great? I mean, it is incredible at his age that Chuck Schumer is still able to bend over so far.
Oh, the Messiah's disciples have descended down from heaven with a message. Chuck's not getting Me Too'd, but his time's up.
I think he's been in trouble. I think he is in bigger trouble now. I think Senator Schumer's been there since 1982. My guess is that he won't be leader of the party in 2027 after this election unless something really surprising happens.
The Schumer shutdown's over, and so Schumer. The coup is in motion. In 24 hours, the squad, Rashida Tlaib, who didn't say anything about the Mideast peace deal, said this: Schumer should step down. Our friend Shri also wants Schumer's scalp. It's time for us to have somebody with guts. Ouch. Hakeem says, no way, Jose.
Do you think Schumer should be replaced?
Leader Schumer did not bless this agreement. He voted against it. And of course, Senate Democrats who voted no have made that clear.
Schumer either blessed the agreement under the table or isn't strong enough to control his caucus. Either way, they say Schumer's weak. 80% of Move On members say Chuck should pack his bags and go back to Brooklyn. They say he's surrendered. Chuck shut down the government so the base would think he's tough. How'd that work? Now they're just calling him a coward. Trump says he never should have transitioned.
I feel badly because I've known Chuck Schumer. I knew him when he was a person who loved Israel, and now he's a Palestinian. He's become a Palestinian, and it's amazing. I've never seen a politician change so much. Also, he doesn't have, he was a pretty talented guy. He's lost his talent.
The last time Democrats staged a coup, they didn't have a backup plan. Remember? That's how they got Kamala. MSNBC's like, can we please have a backup plan this time?
The people who are saying, oh, let's get rid of Chuck Schumer, I'm waiting for the name. They have yet to say, well, who's going to do it? Who do you have? Yeah. Who have you convinced? And who's going to do it better than Chuck Schumer?
Democrats are like, you want the name? Here's a whole list.
I like Chris Van Hollen. I like Chris Murphy. I like Elizabeth Warren. I mean, there are others, but I think someone who has shown moral clarity, someone who gets this moment.
They're going to replace Schumer with a fake Indian? Or the guy who had Margs with the Maryland dad? That's a much worse backup plan than Kamala. CNN says maybe something spicier. Bernie Sanders in a pantsuit.
Look at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez running way ahead. If she decides to challenge Chuck Schumer and come 2028, she's got a real leg up on the competition. I dare say at this point she would be the favorite to beat him, which would be something that would just blow my mind, even just a few years ago, given that Chuck Schumer, of course, is a New York born bred type of guy.
Yeah, those are incredible.
Look at that, 30 points ahead. My goodness gracious.
Wow. Well, if the party looks different, it's because it is. Ever since Nancy busted her hip, the auto pen retired, and Barack stopped walking on water, the Democrat Party turned into a free-for-all.
Who is running the show now in the Democratic Party, in the Senate, in the House?
No one really knows.
Well, if you ask the lefties, they know. It's the Commie Party.
The capitulation of a few Senate Democrats is as backstabbing a betrayal as we will ever need to unite as a true Democratic Party and dismantle the leadership that put us in this position. Mom Donnie has shown us the way. It is time to end the era of the feckless Democrat.
Mondani has shown us the way? They learned the wrong lesson from last Tuesday's election. The Bolsheviks didn't come to power just by slicing the head off the snake. They split the party in half and filled the ranks with communists. Bernie the Bolshevik wants a red revolution up and down the whole ballot.
Chuck Schumer is part of the establishment. And I'm sorry to say that many people in the Democratic caucus are part of it. I would say we have 8 or 9 out of 47 people who I would consider to be progressives. The issue right now is doing primaries, getting people involved in the political process. So I think we need to take on the Democratic establishment all over this country.
So according to my math, which isn't great, Bernie just said around 40 Democrats in the Senate, pretty much everyone in the Senate, has got to go. They aren't woke enough, and they have to be primaried. And in the House, hips could be on the chopping block. Kami Mondami's buddy, a New York City councilman who even the New York Times calls far left, is gearing up to primary Hakeem. But Fetterman, head of the normie wing, says over my dead body.
I don't need a lecture from whether it's Bernie or the governor in California, because they are representing very deep blue kinds of populations. And a lot of those things were part of the extreme. I promise you, this isn't a political game.
The Brooklyn Bolshevik is going to fight dirty. Anyone standing up against communism is a big, fat, corrupt money puppet.
The division that we're seeing in the Democratic Party right now are those who get a whole lot of money from wealthy campaign contributors. They hire consultants. And I got to tell you, that consultant class is so far removed from reality, it is really quite pathetic. That's one wing of the Democratic Party. And there's the other wing. And that is what Mamdani did in New York.
So while the commies are walking the old-timers off the plank, there's a political cobra charming his way through the party.
This is Congressman Sri Thanagar in Washington, D.C. I'm fighting for affordability, fighting for health care. You know, we're the richest nation in the world, but we don't have our people covered with health care.
The Democrats are in shambles. Nancy's retiring, Schumer's on his last legs, and young communists are ascendant. A civil war is going to force Democrats to spend a fortune. Not only will they have to beat Republicans, they're going to have to beat far lefties in the primary. And these primaries are going to drag these normal Democrats hard left. Now, when Republicans fought their civil war, MAGA won and the party grew. The Democrat Party is facing the same type of plight. You either die or you survive.
One of the Democrats who crumbled like a granola bar in your backpack is New Hampshire Senator and the Joker's proud aunt, Jeanne Shaheen.
Democrats drew a line in the sand. They said, we are not going over this. And today, after 41 days, they pulled out a shovel and a bucket, and they ate all that sand and got nothing for it. Isn't that great?
Wow, something amazing happened. By the way, Stephen Colbert is more conservative than you knew, according to him. Now, Chuck Schumer just put the country through the longest shutdown in American history, got zero in return. Instead, the radicals in his base are more emboldened than ever. The de facto leader of the Democratic Party is, in fact, socialist Bernie Sanders, who has been openly trashing Schumer in interview after interview after interview for days on end now. Take a look.
Do you, at this point, have confidence in Chuck Schumer to lead the Democratic caucus?
It's not Schumer. Look, it goes deeper than Schumer. It is no secret to anybody who follows these things that there is a division within the Democratic Party. Chuck represents the establishment wing, the corporate wing.
Do you still have confidence in him as leader of the Senate?
Look, Schumer and I have very fundamental disagreements about where the Democratic Party should be. And I am strongly supporting candidates for the Senate who are not part of the Democratic establishment or believe. I think the leadership, this is no great secret. It is my view that the leadership of the Democratic Party in many respects is way out of touch with where Democrats in general are, where many independents are, where the grassroots of America are. So you can argue, and I can make the case that Chuck Schumer has done a lot of bad things. But I think getting rid of him, who's going to replace him?
Now, here's Bernie saying the quiet part out loud that there is a movement underway all across the entire country where candidates just like Zoran, our friend, commie Marxist Mamdani, are now poised to take the reins all around the country. Take a look.
What we have got to do is go above and beyond what happened yesterday, that terrible, terrible vote, and understand that, yes, you have parts of the Democratic establishment who are way, way out of touch with where the American people are or where we have got to go. And our job is to build a political movement. We are doing it with the 3 candidates for the Senate. I expect more to come with many candidates in the House, candidates all over this country running for local office. We're going to build that movement, grassroots movement, to do what Mamdani did in New York City, all over this country.
All over this country. Bernie's right, but don't take his word for it. Here's the latest polling data, even from fake news CNN. They finally get it right.
What about Democrats nationwide feeling about Chuck Schumer? I think the word of the day is terrible, 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 terrible. To quote another Charles Barkley when it comes to Chuck Schumer. Look at this. Least popular Dem Senate leader ever. I looked at all of the polls going all the way back since 1985. The one who has the lowest rating among Democrats is, in fact, Chuck Schumer. Look at this. He's underwater with Democrats. His own party, he's underwater. He's at -4 points. That makes him the least popular guy for a Dem Senate leader going all the way back since the mid-1980s at least.
All right, it's obvious to anybody with eyes to see. It's only a matter of time before Chuck is forced to walk the plank. In fact, no Democrat, no matter how liberal, is going to be safe. The leader of the idiotic No Kings protest is now vowing to lead a campaign against any Democrat who rebuffed the demands of his party's radical base. Look at this warning. Take note.
They have shown us time and time again this year that given the chance, they will cower. Given the chance, they will capitulate. If they can find plausible deniability, they will give in the regime. If there's a silver lining to all this, it's that this capitulation was so complete that it will be impossible to hide. Everybody can see that the party is not up to the task now. And so we should be asking every single Senate Democratic candidate, are you supporting Chuck Schumer for leadership? And if you are, you don't got my vote. You don't get my donation. You don't get my support. You don't get my attention.
Now, this type of coercion is now everywhere on the left. Just look at how John Fetterman, he went on The View. Look at how he was treated for simply, wanting to open the government, for wanting 42 million Americans that need food stamps to get them, for wanting hundreds of thousands of Americans to be able to travel in a safe and timely fashion. And, by the way, pay our brave men and women in uniform. Make sure they get a paycheck. Take a look.
Why give in now? Why bring a butter knife to a gunfight? Are you willing to gamble that the GOP will negotiate on health care in good faith once the government reopens? Because if that gamble is wrong, 500,000 Pennsylvanians that you represent, their health care costs will skyrocket if you are wrong. And I believe you are wrong.
By the way, what she's saying is wrong. We'll get to that later. This is now the party of out-of-control rage. I mean, they are literally at each other's throats. It lacks all sense of decency, all common sense. The hammer and sickle party, to each according to their needs, from each according to their ability. There's absolutely no room for compromise. As AOC, just plain out said, the old guard in the Democratic Party is about to go extinct. Pay attention to this.
Well, what I think is so impressive about what Zohran Mamdani accomplished tonight, as well as the entire movement of New Yorkers that came out to vote for him, is that he had to not just defeat a Republican, he had to defeat a Republican and the old guard of the Democratic Party at the same time. He was fighting a war on two fronts and not just one. And he still won resoundingly. And I think the message that sends is that the Democratic Party cannot last much longer by denying the future.
This is really a historic moment. There are now two groups of Democrats. The first, a cabal of radical socialists who are willing to fight tooth and nail to destroy everything that makes America great, replace it with Zohran Mamdani Soviet-style Marxism. The second group consists of cowardly liberal Democrats, more traditional maybe, that are just bending the knee, scared to death to ever challenge these radicals and put up a fight. They are now being bullied into oblivion. They will be extinct in no time by members of their own party. Ultimately, this will have very serious consequences, not just for the Democratic Party, but for the entire country. We got a little taste of this during the shutdown, and it got bad. It will get so much worse if these socialists are able to gain a serious foothold in our federal government. Socialism, I wrote a whole chapter in Live Free or Die, and its history of failure. It is a failed system. It is built on envy, rage, and magical thinking and false promises. It always ends the same way. Unfulfilled promises by government officials that want power, more poverty, and a loss of your freedom. How, by the way, is your government schools doing where you live? What town do you live in? What city do you live in? How did those Obamacare promises work out for the American people? Where's all that money that they were supposed to put away, your money, in a Social Security lockbox? Remember they promised that? At some point, simple, basic, fundamental common sense has got to prevail, or America will be doomed if we become New York. and New Jersey and California and Illinois. But as President Trump has demonstrated, this is a golden opportunity for Republicans to offer real solutions, to make the American dream more affordable. It must be done. Without skin in the game, without investments or equity in a nice home, socialism becomes a temptation. But with aggressive regulatory reform, et cetera, lower interest rates, abundance of production and energy, which is the lifeblood of the world's economy, and, of course, building materials and food and everything else under the sun, the golden age of America will be better than ever before.
Meanwhile, as the Dems plot politically, Trump's promising to send a $2,000 tariff dividend to non-wealthy Americans, which he's doing without raising billions in taxes or printing billions of dollars, unlike the COVID checks, which did spike inflation. And so as the Dem rely on procedural confusion to shovel cash to insurance companies, Trump sends money directly to you. Trump's writing checks for real money, while Dems keep writing checks that their asses can't cash, while staying oblivious to the writing on the wall. Trump didn't budge. How is this so surprising? It's what he does on everything. It's funny how the Dems have Trump on their brains all the time, yet are continually shocked when he does what he does. But we see it coming because for us, clarity works. It was, here's the budget, sign on the dotted line, pretty simple. Apparently too simple for a party that still struggles to define what a woman is. Yet they, ironically, were the ones left standing with the dicks in their hands.
Period. Let's welcome tonight's guest. They call him a lady killer because he murders prostitutes. Comedian Joe Mackey. She puts the Dems in their place with a smile on her face. Republican strategist Aaron McGuire. In high school, he was voted most likely to die alone. Actor, writer, and comedian Jamie Lissow. And she can make a crouton last a week. New York Times bestselling author, Fox News contributor, Kat Timm. Joe, I love your haircut. I see you got the lesbian police officer cut. You look very, yeah. I look at you, I keep thinking you want to look at my license and registration and then play a little softball afterwards. By the way, where did you get your haircut, Joe?
Walmart.
You got it hair? You did. What aisle were you in?
I was at the salon at the front, Greg. I like your haircut, too. I just impressed the barber, found a bowl that small.
All right. Are you surprised, Joe, that the libs are melting down over ending the shutdown after saying the shutdown was so evil? Are you surprised?
I'm not surprised. I'm surprised Republicans kind of won this one. Democrats are probably melting down because it's getting cold out. The heat's coming on. Their faces are mostly made of plastic. But this whole lockdown situation is it's quite a debacle. It only started in 1980. It was a Jimmy Carter AG. He went through the law and said, hey, we're not supposed to be running the country unless there's a continuing resolution. And so we've had this problem ever since. It's like this high-stakes game of chicken. And it's very frustrating for me personally because you wouldn't believe how many girlfriends I have that are in the TSA. And I'll tell you what, they are even more surly when they're not getting paid.
I love the little history you gave us.
Well, it's a fascinating thing. It just seems like such a dumb situation to me that we're saying that we're going to continue the government, but paying the troops isn't essential, or paying air traffic controllers isn't essential, and food stamps. It's like, why can't we change it to different things? Like maybe Congress doesn't get paid, or
exactly,
or tax collectors, or food stamps because they push up the price of my snacks.
Yes. Aaron, are you surprised by this outcome? I mean, we knew day one this is how it was going to end.
This is exactly how it was going to end. John Thune made the offer for the vote on the ACA, the Obamacare subsidies, weeks ago.
Yeah.
Democrats, this just shows what a bad spot Democrats are as a party, but Chuck Schumer specifically, and I know Democrats are saying he should get out, they should kick him out, he has no power. He certainly has no power anymore. He wasn't even in the room for the negotiations to end the government shutdown. They were like, listen, buddy, we're good. You just stay over there. He knows this because you saw it with Zoran Mondani, two separate things, but all the same about his weakness. He wouldn't say anything against him in New York, and he wouldn't endorse him. Why? Because he knows that's the radical base that drives the Democrat Party that he's going to need if he wants to survive another primary and get another term as a U.S. Senator. This man is terrified of the Democrats, so he sits quiet, and thankfully there were 8 of them smart enough to say, you know what? We shouldn't be playing games with air traffic controllers. We shouldn't be playing games with WIC and SNAP and food stamps and keeping the government going. And to see the left-wing meltdown about this shows you what it was the entire time. This was a political game, and the bargaining chips were the taxpayers and their dollars. And instead, Republicans stood firm. They didn't move. And what do you know? Tomorrow, the government will reopen.
I have a golden rule, Jamie. If something makes Sonny Hostin upset, it has to be good.
Yeah, it's fun watching the Democrats fight with each other.
Yes.
It reminds me of like when my ex-wife and her new husband fight, there's no victim.
Did she get married?
Yeah, she got married.
Oh.
I think before we got divorced. It was a...
Very good. That was quick.
Yeah, airports, I don't know if you've flown, you guys have flown, but airports have been absolute... There is like, it's delayed flights, extremely angry customers, or as Spirit Airlines is calling it, business as usual.
Yes. They're probably so prepared for this because it's like this is like every day.
Yeah, we got this. This is how we do it. Yeah. But it's I'm just glad to see you going back. No, I actually have a big thing this weekend where I'm in Jacksonville, Florida on a Friday, and I go to Anchorage, Alaska on a Saturday because when my agent books me, he just spins a globe. So I really want everyone to make it. And I do wonder, are there 8 Democrats that have plans this Thanksgiving? Did they want to end it because of that? Because I get I think the health insurance aspect is maybe the most important because, Maggie, like comedians, we don't have health insurance. I think something does need to be figured out. What I do is I sprained my ankle the other day. Yeah. And what I did was I just laid down behind my bag at the x-ray machine at the airport. I was like, that look like a sprain to you? What do you guys think?
Do you know, I think if a candidate ran on the concerns of health insurance for comedians, they would not win a single vote. They would. It's like, you guys chose a high-risk career.
Yeah.
You're not, like a comedian that doesn't get into comedy for the health insurance, unless maybe you're, I don't know.
You would probably save the country money, Greg, because we make people happy, and people who are happy don't get sick as much.
If laughter is the best medicine, I would say, patient, heal thyself.
And Greg, comedy is high risk, but it's also no reward.
Last word to you, Kat. You had a hell of a travel experience over the weekend, but
so bad.
Yes.
Listen, my family has had a really hard year. One of the worst days should not have been Sunday at the airport. It was so bad. Our flight got canceled, so it was me, Cam, and the baby. Our flight got canceled, and we got split up on 2 different flights. And whatever, there was the bags on one flight. We're going to split bags and baby. So I was like, I'm going to go with the bags. He was going to be on a flight 2 hours behind me with the baby, especially because, like, I'm a woman. People be nicer to the dad in the airport.
I love how you justify this.
No, it's true.
It's like,
a woman.
She goes, we're going to split up. You take the baby.
Well, here's the thing. People are nicer because if a woman's traveling alone at the airport, like a man alone at the airport with a baby, they're like, super dad, you're so brave. If you're a woman, they're like, of course, she probably ran the man away by being a slut and a bitch.
Yeah. And, you know, he worked his way up to first class by telling the flight attendant that he's a widower.
No, he didn't say. He did say that, like, that I left, and I think some people may have misunderstood that. But it was also like the stroller and the car seat and the lifting and then whatever. But long story short, It didn't work out that way.
Yeah.
He wound up getting stuck at the airport, ran out of formula, ran out of diapers, had to get a hotel, was by himself with the baby. And we have resources. We can get a hotel. We can DoorDash formula diapers. That could have been a really dangerous situation for somebody. So it's just like the whole time you're sitting there thinking like, man, with the government being so big, we're so dependent on them for so many things. These people who very clearly do not give a about you beyond their own personal ambition. And again, the whole time we kept repeating to each other, like, they are still getting paid.
Yes. Yep. And they have no problems getting home, you know?
No, yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a fun story.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.